this party started. It is 7:32 p.m. on September 10th. This is the Westchester Borough Smart Growth Committee meeting. I am Nicole Shimoni, your chair, and I am here with my colleagues Lisa Dorsey and Bernie Flynn. Any announcements? Okay. Seeing none, any comments, suggestions, petitions by residents, taxpayers, and visitors in attendance regarding items not on the agenda? Okay, let's move to the director's report.
Aaron Fluck, I am the Director of Building, Housing, and Code Enforcement. August was a busy month. I'm not going to go too far into the housing report. You have a copy of it. Big things that we did have several zoning hearing board requests for this month. One that was carried over from last month, 531 Marshall Drive. It's number 10029 for dimensional variances, was continued over from the July 25th meeting. It was officially withdrawn from the zoning hearing board appeals because they want to investigate a manner in which they won't need either as much of a reduction or any reduction at all. So they have chosen to do that on their own. We do have two other ones that we'll be going through this month. One at 210-214. That's a typo there. I don't know why that's at. 1033 for design criteria variance. This is in regards to a townhouse development with 8 townhomes that they're trying to move forward with on a large property that has about 88% of the property covered with a building. They're going to tear down that building, and when they come back in, they will be doing about 50%, a little bit under 50% for the building coverage, which is above what is allowed under the ordinance. So they're going to be requesting a variance and allowing it. We will see about a 43% reduction in what the building coverage is right now, but it still will be above what was allowed in the variance. And the last one is in regards to 436 North Church Street, which is a variance. There's a subdivision that's attached to that where they have a 6-unit building that they want to subdivide into 2 properties, which will allow for another single-family home to be put beside it. They're going to be looking for variances in the side and rear yard setbacks, and also for the smaller lot as to whether it's too small a lot under the ordinance right now. So they're going to be looking for lot size relief. Planning Commission, we heard a sketch plan that basically came before you guys last month for 410 South High Street. They came through and explained how another townhouse development, I believe it's either 42 or 47, I can't remember the exact number, but there's going to be a series of single family semi-detached and attached, and 2-family semi-detached and attached homes. They are going to be coming back to discuss with the Planning Commission a potential zoning text amendment to the zoning ordinance. However, I've met with their lawyer and Kristen, our solicitor, and our solicitor has come up with an alternate that would allow for us to create a new usage for what is called unified housing development for that area, which would meet the requirements necessary for developing that lot, and without having to weaken our ordinance or have any kind of text amendment or anything else. So we're going to be meeting with them on Friday to discuss that and see if that's how they. If they do, then we will bring that to the Planning Commission and address it through the normal pathways. We did have 2 votes in the Planning Commission. They did approve the build to line amendment. There were 3 changes that they were making amendments to the criteria for for the TC district, Town Center District. One, they're going to change the build to line, which previously set has to meet the adjacent properties to a, I forget the correct term that they were using, but it's in the letter that was submitted to you. Basically, the build to line would be 0 setback on the front, which would allow it to return to what we had previously in the code before that last change. Also, they would be doing the same thing with the side yard setback and reduce it down to 0. The only other addition is in the height overlay district. They're allowing for a 10-foot setback because when you have the higher buildings, it kind of cramps up the street and it kind of blocks light out. It'll allow for more trees to be able to grow on the street. It'll give you a little bit less of a massing right on the sidewalk so that you don't feel claustrophobic or enclosed. It'll set it back and open it up a little bit. And that would be a 10-foot setback only in that overlay district. And then the other, there was one other one that was done, and that was, exactly. The other. And we'll get back to that. I don't want to hold us up because we're late. They did have a motion to approve the letter for a recommendation for the master plan for Westchester University. However, we have tabled that to allow the solicitor to address a few things and some concerns. We have gotten a list of concerns that from the members and have submitted them to the solicitor. And at the next work session, we'll be going over theirs and reviewing them. The big thing I did want to point out is that we did 233 rental inspections this month, which is the largest that we've done in quite a while. We are starting to get into a position where right now we are 2 months ahead of where we were last year in the processing of rental licenses. And this will come back later on in the discussion of the potential budget for this department. But we are starting to hit our stride and be able to get a lot more inspections done each month. And we're starting to cut into our backlog in those regards. And the big thing with the rental inspections is that an old saying is that a rising tide lifts all ships. So if we can improve the condition of the rental properties that we have, it is a great way to keep attainable housing and keep affordable housing in our community without having to add it. We're not losing those individual properties that may be deteriorating to a point of not being able to be kept. So keeping them at a higher level and keeping them sustainable for our near future will help in alleviating some of the housing issues that we have. That's pretty much it for the basics for my budget, or excuse me, for my report. Any questions?
Mr. Fluck, the 10-foot setback of the overlay district, how many stories are we going to allow them to go up before they have the 10-foot setback?
It would be from the first story up.
First
You
story,
would set the building back. You don't want to have it sitting, excuse me, I'm moving away from the
Yeah.
microphone. You don't want to have it sitting straight onto the side of the sidewalk, because when you have a 45 or above 45 feet of a building, you're starting to get that visual illusion that it's kind of creeping over and enclosing the space. So it would be from the ground up.
have you visited Hotel Indigo?
I have not.
That's on the corner of Walnut and Gay.
Mhm.
They're 0 setback. They're basically right on the sidewalk. But
Okay.
as you go up 2 or 3 stories, I think it's 2 or 3 stories, then they have a 5 or 6 foot setback. So it doesn't look like it's cramping on top of you. So what your overlay district you're going to be talking about is from the sidewalk back 10 feet in the overlay district.
Correct.
Okay, instead of when it goes up, stepping it back.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
No, I think we'll end up talking about some of the other things a little bit later as well as this one. It continues to warm my heart that you guys are working with the developers and finding creative solutions that are within, legal and all of those things that they need to be to help support, creating more homes for people to come into the borough and buy and live in versus the big box rentals that have been prevalent over the past couple of years. So I look forward to hearing more about it in the other parts of the conversation.
No problem. Thank you.
So great job getting the inspections up. I also like that perspective that you had, inspect more, keep the properties that we have in better shape, and then they won't be torn down and build into bigger things or, that they stay livable for people. I like
When
that.
you have as big of an issue as housing, sometimes the only thing you can do, or the simplest thing you can do, is the best thing to do at that moment. Until you can find a solution to fix everything, you got to do what's within your grasp. And right now, maintaining what we have and keeping the quality up is more important to that than pretty much anything else we can do at this point. Should I just
Right.
go into the budget or?
Wait, we gotta do, oh yeah, budget. Yes, keep going.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure what I was supposed to be doing here. Most of my budget will be staying the same. It will go up a little bit. I do want to point out a couple things. One of the things that we have talked about is inspecting. And this is where I said that it'll come back to tie into our budget. From what I understand, I wasn't here at the time, but prior to COVID, there were 3 code enforcement officers in the department. Right now, we are doing we're trying to get done in a year, 5,800, little shy of 5,900 rental inspections a year. It is theoretically possible, but not with the staff that we have right now. So I am looking at adding a code enforcement officer that would be able to help in that regard, and also a part-time admin, which will free up our full-time admin to concentrate on processing the rental licenses and helping with the portal system and easing some of the stresses that the portal system has caused. Let me rephrase that. Easing some of the stresses that the adjustment to the portal system has caused. And what I mean by that is people are used to doing a paper format and just getting them in one way. We've changed it up to a portal system that will make it much simpler and much easier to do, but that adjustment always takes a little bit of time. There's a learning curve with that. These things I think are very, very essential. Now, to get them done, the major issue that we're going to be looking at is right now we have been charging a certain amount for rental licenses, but not charging anything for rental inspections. So in that regard, we are kind of losing a good portion of money to be able to pay for those additional. We are looking at creating a pricing for the rental license and actually charging for the rental inspections. We can do it as one price, but we're trying to be transparent and let people understand what the cost increase is going to be. We have never charged for the rental inspections. We kind of are forced at this point to do that because we just don't have the money to perform those amount of inspections. The other thing that we were looking forward to do is to pull some things and reduce. One of the biggest increases we had over our budget last year is our zoning hearing board. We did have quite a few of those due to the short-term rental, and we've maintained at least 2 since I've been here. I've been only here 2 months and going into my 3rd month. We are scheduled for 2 zoning hearing board hearings every month that I've been here. And right now, for the foreseeable future into October, we're already scheduled for 2 in October, and there's another person saying that they may want to get in on that too. So our zoning hearing boards have been very high. We're right now at about, I believe, around 50,000, and we estimated 30,000 for our budget on that. So one of the things that we are going to be looking at doing is pulling back in zoning approvals, zoning determinations, and in the past, we have had the director do that, and right now I have the skills to be able to do that. So we'll be asking for the director to be the zoning officer. Go ahead.
So wait, fewer zoning hearing board reviews because you'll be looking at,
Not so much fewer, but the cost that we are paying for a third party to do them is going to be reduced significantly. Um, those are the major things that we were supposed to be talking about. Okay.
But since I'm a landlord, you're coming after my money again. No, the $44 for the rental inspection, the rental license. And we have to be very careful because we had a very bad thing happen a few years back with the landlords. To make sure that we're allowed to do what you're asking to do. But the team here, we've been talking about the last few months, charging for re-inspections of failures. We never came up with a fee to do that. The re-inspection costs the borough money to go back to re-inspect if it fails. And we talked about charging for re-inspection as an increase in the fee. This is what, you remember we were talking
Well-
about that?
well, I see it here in the budget. I was curious about that because in the budget right now that we have has $450,000
Yeah.
in there for rental reinspection.
Can I explain that? That's
Yeah.
a little bit of a typo. It's supposed to be rental inspections. We never had, they were paying $44 for us to do a rental license and an inspection, which is where we were really getting under water. So what we are doing was I personally separated them simply for transparency. So people understood there would be an increase in the rental fee. And we actually have a formula that we have been doing and using to determine how much it costs us. And we have a little bit of leeway either way, but we can make back what the cost is for us. And right now, the amount that we are looking for would be right about where we need to be. I think it's some cents off of it, but we also did that same formula for rental inspections, which would set the price for us in that regards. So the total price would be a significant increase over what they were paying for before, but they were getting one of them for free. That's the real big increases that we're now going to be charging for our costs in those regards, which would be much less than if we used the third-party company coming in and doing it, about $30 less than what the third-party company would charge us. And that fee would have to be passed on to the rental. So keep in mind, though, unless we can raise those fees and institute the inspection fee, we also did put in a re-inspection fee at a slightly lesser rate because we'd only go back and looking at specific items. And at this point, that fee is set on, when you get your inspection, you get one return trip and the price is set on that way. If you either don't show for it or you don't fix the things that needed to be fixed, any subsequent trip back would then cost you a certain amount.
I think this body understood that you got one
Yeah.
one return visit to correct the items that were deficient.
In the industry, that's
Yeah.
just a typical courtesy because now one of the other things that we're going to be instituting that I've already started to look for is we'll be sending out a list of things that we are checking so that they can go through and try to get these things fixed before we even get there, because that'll just make things a lot more streamlined, a lot better. But to get done what we need to do, we want to try to get to a point where we're inspecting these once a year. And to get that, we really do need the third inspector and the part-time admin.
I think landlords will appreciate the pre-checklist or, I think they've been asking for it. And I think there's been different philosophies on whether or not to have a list available or not, but
It's not going to be everything we look for, but there's no secret. There's no reason why we should hide what we're looking at. And it's
yeah, I think it'll be helpful.
very simple.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of communities near us that have those already made up that I can just look at.
Comment too on Aaron did some research into what other municipalities like us are charging for rental rental licensing and inspection programs and
Certainly. I did look at a number of municipalities, including Phoenixville, Norristown, Borough of Downingtown, Media. Not necessarily all the same size, but in our general area, from much larger than us to significantly smaller than us. Right now, in most municipalities, their rental inspection and licensing is running right around $110 to $125 a month. No, 1,000, excuse me, 110 to 125 a month that they're charging. There are some that are a little bit lower than that. I think the lowest I saw was 80.
said a
Still
month.
significant-
Oh, excuse me, every year.
Uh,
I'm sorry, I
So that's
apologize.
Still significantly more than what we've been, yeah.
Double, in some cases, significantly more than double. I also looked into the number of code enforcement officers and relative to the number of rental properties. And right now, most municipalities have it set at about one code enforcement officer for every 15 to 2,000 rental properties. If we had three, they would be expected to inspect each year around 1,900. If we stay at the two, for us to get them done every year, they would have to do 2,900 a year. You can see where that would be untenable.
Other questions? Questions from anyone in attendance? Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, motion to approve Smart Growth Committee minutes from August 13th, 2025. Any questions from anyone in attendance? All right, we'll keep moving. Discuss amendments to Chapter 90A, Restaurant Cafe.
We, at this point, we're not ready to bring anything forth to the committee. However, we did have a meeting last month, and I think we're scheduled for one this month. We're looking at redoing things and trying to come up with a better plan on keeping it organized and limiting some of the other extracurricular stuff that was being done.
Are you thinking next month you're going to come to us with something, or the following month? What do you guys?
I think we could definitely can have an outline at least of what's going to move forward. Carnivals, parades, and something else. There was also some other discussions about providing a safe lane in the middle for emergency services.
Okay, all right, until next month on that one. All right, discuss amended 410 South High Street revised plan.
I'm just gonna stay up here for a while.
Stay there.
We did have, as I said, the planning commission did meet and discuss this. It's a very exciting plan. I know that this is a contested site where there have been some litigation that's going on. They did reach out to one of the litigants, and they did review it with them. No real comments have been gotten back to us that that they're willing to report at this time. But it does appear that this is a much more pleasing plan to the individuals that had concerns. And as we said, it's basically going to be a townhouse development. And right now there are a couple of things, including the build to line. And this is kind of the poster child for why the comment that was in the zoning was not a good idea, because you have a front street where everything's right to the line. You have two side streets that some are only 5 feet back, some are 10 feet back, some are 15-foot back. And then you have other properties that are, again, right on the line or at various stages of it. So it kind of makes it difficult in this situation to say, okay, what's the average? What's the typical type? So it makes it very difficult to build on this property. I will tell you that one of the things that has been proposed to eliminate some of the concerns is to create a use which will have its own specific requirements for design. But will incorporate some of the build to lines and help to satisfy some of the concerns people have. It still will remain heights so that you get to, I believe it's 45 feet at that location. I can't remember exactly. It's either 40 or 45 feet, but it'll maintain the height requirements, but it'll allow some other things such as, in this regard, they have a single private driveway that you will have small driveways off of to allow to go into either the single properties or the two-family properties, single-family properties, two-family properties. And what it'll do is it'll set, like if it's a one-way, it'll restrict it down to 18 feet, which is what the requirement is for a one-way. If it is, and then it'll have others, you have to be so far off of that street for the side yard, but specifically designed for properties like this. Now, it would not be for every property. It's going to be having a set minimum of 1 acre. And I believe 3 acres, these are the proposed types. Now, we want to meet with the attorneys for them to see if this is a possible way going forward. And if we would, then we would go to the planning commission and then back to you guys to get that on the agenda to get approval as we need it, as far as we need it. But it's a solution that we think may retain the strength of the ordinances that we have, but allow for these, because the problem with right now is most of the properties that we have in Westchester are infill properties that don't necessarily are not your perfectly designed properties to build on. They tend to lend themselves to large apartment blocks, excuse me. But in this case, it helps to open up some of the zoning to allow for a more realistic and more of a property that would be typical to what is in that neighborhood. Because particularly this one, it's right on the end of the town center area, right up to the NC2. There's a townhouse development right behind it. It really fits into the neighborhood, this design, much better than the previous one.
My estimate, and I don't know for a fact because I wasn't around, I was probably around, but I probably wasn't paying attention when the town center was created, that for some reason we made the town center go all the way down there because of Burger King. That would be my assumption, that that's how that became part of town center, because to that point, it's basically kind of homes basically down that street for the most part. I don't know. Would you?
There's a
would
couple
you-
of
were you around?
there's a property across the street that's still, I mean, I could see where it
Verizon
could be
building
put
is
on.
there.
It's right in that, it's kind of like if you're going to punt or kick a field goal, it's right in that dead space in between. It's not really into the housing, but it's not really into the town center. It's kind of a large open property. But this type of development, if we can get it as a use, will help to make those difficult properties still meet the kind of characteristics that we want to see in the town. And it will provide 42, like I said, I can't remember exactly the number of those, 42 to 47 new homes. And I know this is ridiculous for me to say it, but I did look into it. Some of these homes are going to be on the low end for new construction and new properties. Even new condos are going to be charged more than So while it isn't necessarily affordable homes, it's better than what we have seen in the past.
All right, so nothing for us to do right now. We will wait patiently for you guys to work through the process, but yeah.
First thing is the Friday meeting.
You excited, Lisa? I know it's after 8, but we're still excited. Yeah. It's internal excitement at this point. All right, moving on to D, discuss amending chapter 112, 602 zoning referencing curbs and streets.
Yeah, I sat down, we brought this up with you guys before and you asked for pictures. I got you the pictures. I got you a fact sheet that we took to council, to the whole council. I've gone back to Kristen, sat down with Kristen, our solicitor, and gone over this, and she liked some of the text I put in there. She didn't like how I had it set up, which I didn't expect her to like exactly. But she basically, what is going to happen is it would be giving the zoning officer the option in these cases for specific reasons to not require a curb. Specifically, mostly for if the police or public works fire department determined that it would be hazardous to their equipment or restrict access or too small of a space, things of those types, so that it would give the zoning officer the ability to waive that requirement at that time.
I like it. Yeah. Yeah. Any comments from folks out there? Oh, Dane's got a comment.
So this is federal public hearing. Are we ready to take this to public hearing then? If all council approves.
I like it. Yeah, you good? All right. Yeah, we can do that. Okay.
It would also, one other thing I do want to put on this, it will change the definition. It'll take alleys out of the street definition and have a separate definition for the alleys.
Okay. Yeah, I liked the paragraph that one. I read it earlier. Okay, new business. We will go back to the build to lines.
Yes. Let me try to find that. Jim, do you want to speak on this, or I'll let you have a few seconds
Yeah,
to
just
talk?
sitting here for like a couple of hours. Take a load off your feet, Aaron.
Thanks for giving up the mic here for a second. Jim Cherry, Planning Commission. Yeah, I think the build to, it's one of those pieces of conversation we've been talking about for over a year now, and trying to strengthen our present ordinances. With the constraint of a build to, what you're asking for on a parcel is the front end of the building to be built to that line. So it actually would, if everybody was to build to that line, you'd end up with a very flat street, which in the town center, what we're really looking for is buildings that reinforce the street, but we want a little bit of texture and breaks in them to allow for building entrances, articulation of buildings. And when it comes to, it's really about quality for the pedestrian and getting space for the street trees and stuff like that. So what we have experienced over a couple of the last applications where the adjacent buildings to the properties were significantly different than what we were trying to achieve. As an example of 330 Market Street, Nudies is immediately adjacent to that. So if we were to have a build to line and match the front of Nudies, that would push that building significantly back. Same thing happened at 123 Market, which is the McCool building, or Rubenstein's as well. So as well as Burger King, which ended up in a little bit of controversy there relative to the build to. So what we're looking to do is try to set people's expectations, not only the developers, but the boroughs and what we're really trying to achieve. What we're doing is actually reverting back to the previous requirement. So the previous requirement was a 0-foot setback. So we went from a build to a setback. It's just for the town center. And we're really just saying, hey, we're going to go back to building to that right of way. So your parcel has property lines, and every street within the borough has a determined right of way. So it's either 40, 50, or 60 feet wide, and that your front property line is actually that right of way. So you would be allowed to build up to that. Given the price of and the scarcity of the land that's actually in the town center, and there's such a premium, we're looking to max that out. The previous, or how it's written presently, is you're actually mirroring whatever is adjacent. So how it impacts the side yard is if the side yard of your adjacent neighbor is 10 feet, then you're required to be 10 feet. If it's 5 feet, you're required to be 5 feet. So that leaves tiny slivers of land between these buildings within the town center. So what we're trying to get back to is what's more consistent with what's actually existing. So about 90% of the town center is more consistent with what we're proposing, which is going back to a 0 foot for the 0 foot setback for the front yard, a 0 foot for the side yard. And when we do go to the height overlay district, which the present height is 45 feet, when we go to a 65 or 70, I mean, a 60 or 70 foot height on these buildings, what we're looking to do is step the entire building back. So we weren't looking to prescribe a design as in just stepping back those upper floors after you get to 3 floors. Otherwise, you'd have a whole street full of buildings that are maybe 3 stories high and then step back 10 feet. We're not looking to do that. What we're actually trying to do is get that daylight down to street level. So if we walked along 123 Market and looked at the distance from the curb to that building, we would have actually had the ability to push that building back 10 feet and give a little more dimension there, which would allow for trees, plantings, seating, and having the building doors and stuff not swing right into that walking area. So if we take a typical sidewalk and want to divide it up into zones, we really want that front. We want to really look at a front portion as that potential planting area, that middle portion as potential walking area for 2 directions, and well, that as that last area as potentially where door swings or plantings or planter boxes or whatever might be able to happen in there. When we get into areas that have restaurants and stuff, still being able to have the opportunity for buildings to even step back off of that line to maybe create arcades or colonnades or someplace where seating and tables can be pulled off of that. So even back farther and allow more clear passage there. So it was all trying to address kind of the scale and how we're seeing the borough, the desire to see the borough, as well as kind of put down some of the discussions and arguments relative to what the adjacent buildings are, what a build to is. And really some of that stems from the no real good definition for adjacent, what the extent of that is. And so I think it's really just getting anybody that's looking at a property, looking to develop a property, they would understand with no argument what's going on there. You have to the right of way. If you want to take advantage of the height overlay district, you're going to step back 10 feet. That would reduce those buildings. You can see that kind of impact how positive it is at the county building, with the county building, how much better that feels. This is a fairly large building, but it's not really impacting a pedestrian at the sidewalk. So I think that's pretty much the build to, but that's.
One question I have on the
Sure.
side yard, is there any concerns that this could, like you talked about how you've got a neighbor who's got a 10-foot setback and
Sure.
you say, new building, you can build and you can go right up to them. Is
Sure.
there any concern that the neighbor might be like, oh, this is
Well, it's,
overwhelming?
I mean, the fire code, the building code takes care of, there are fire walls that can happen at 0 foot. It happens in almost every metropolitan, I mean, well, it does happen in every metropolitan area, Philadelphia, Norristown, Phoenixville, Westchester. It's the bulk of the buildings within the town center are right up to the property line on the side yard. So it's not uncommon.
Just a note on that from the building code. It is going to be up to the use and to determine what the fire rating is going to be for both of those buildings. And what that means is they're going to be coming back. They can go up to, I believe, 12 hours on a burn through rating, which means it would take basically 12 hours for it to burn through the material to get to the other side. And it's going to go strictly on the use and how close it is. And it won't be exactly 0 where you're actually attaching to the other side. There will be a small gap in between them, but on both sides, there will be a significant burn through rate increase, so that you don't have the issues of a fire spreading in that regard. And there will also be parapet walls that are required to raise the height so that you don't have a straight burn through rating. Because anytime you make fire if it has to burn straight across, it's like striking a match and holding it perfectly horizontal. It usually burns out before it gets to your finger. But if you turn it up like this, or you turn it like this, it actually makes it go faster. If you turn it like this, it actually burns out before it gets to gets to you faster. So that wall, that parapet wall that would be in between any of those two types of buildings is kind of a fire break that is determined in that.
Mr. Fluck, use the 4-inch rule here in between the buildings. How, I know it's gonna be more than that, but how are they gonna do maintenance? Say we build a building made of bricks, right? How are they going to get in there if we're gonna let them be that close to one another
Well,
and be able to repoint the bricks? Because you can't put a ladder in there or a scaffold, or you're gonna make it wide enough that you can put service equipment in between the buildings so they can do.
Well, that's not going to be
structural
open to
maintenance.
the upper part is not going to be open, and it's
Okay.
not going to be getting any sunlight or any real weather to it.
Okay,
So at that time, you're going to be getting closer to the maximum lifespan of that mortar or brick. Unless there is a serious issue with the building itself where it's leaking from above and the brick gets damaged, you're not really going to have that issue. There are ways of dealing with that. I am not a mason and I don't want to get into how that's done because I would be screwing it up and at every mason in the world hunting me down for telling you the wrong thing. But there are ways of dealing with that. I can't explain exactly how it's done. I just know that it wouldn't be open to the exterior as much as you would think.
I would let you know, Bernie, that the bulk of the conditions that exist presently are buildings built right up against each other. If you went down Market Street or Gay Street and looked either way along those streets, there are 0 lot lines.
attached.
Yeah,
They're attached.
it's a very, very typical condition
Yeah.
here in the borough.
I know how to fix it because I've had to do it. You gotta do it from the inside out
Sure,
instead of the
yeah.
outside in.
Yeah, do it
Yeah.
all the time.
Been there. Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
If you can't get outside, you have to be able to take the
Mhm.
plaster.
Yeah,
and
you have to
drywall
work
down.
from your side of the
Yeah,
property.
you work on the
Sure.
negative side. Yeah, okay.
Sure.
But I was just curious how we're gonna do that. That's okay.
And- Any questions from anyone? No, we're good? Okay. So do we want to move this forward and propose recommendation? Okay. All right, we'll move that forward. All right, to recommend that we go forward with this proposal for, I guess the solicitor then draws it up or something. Okay. All right, then next one, consider directing the solicitor to attend zoning hearing board. First one being 531 Marshall Drive, but is that a thing anymore?
No, that is not. That's been withdrawn, so we don't need to worry about that one.
Draw.
I left it on there only so that you had some notion that it was closed.
All right, cool. All right, so then the next one is 436 North Church Street.
In my opinion, I feel that it would be best for us to have the solicitor there for that one. To oppose it, yes.
Any questions from you guys on that? Any questions on anyone out there on that one?
To oppose.
Okay. All right. And then 210, 214 West Washington Street, exceed allowable impervious surface.
No exceeds allowable building coverage. It should
It
say,
says, well, that's.
It should-
okay, but that's not, yeah, so we'll have to update that.
we'll have that updated. It should be building coverage, non-permeable surfaces. It meets exactly impermeable surfaces. The only thing that would be changed on that is the building coverage. In my opinion, for the fact that we are seeing a 43% reduction in what is currently there, I don't feel that we should oppose this.
Okay, so, and any questions from you guys? Any questions from anyone out here? So the proposal from Aaron is, number one is withdrawn, so nothing. Number two is that we send the solicitor to oppose. And number 3 is that we don't send the solicitor to oppose. Are you guys good with that? All right. Oh, we do have a comment.
And I'm not, Lisa Kearns, West Middle Street. I'm not opposed to this, but I'm wondering, how do you make those decisions as to which ones you follow the rules and which ones you don't? I mean, in this case, it is far less than Yarnall's Garage, but how do you make that determination? What criteria do you use?
There's a number of different things that we use. One is what is the best and highest use of the property, and how we can take a non-conforming property and reduce the non-conformities into a more conforming property. I don't know that we have had anything or could get much else in there that would be able to really meet it. It is possible, but we would have to lose 2 housing units. So in the benefit of matching the building coverage doesn't meet the loss of 2 housing units. That's basically, it's a cost, what's cost effective, what is the best way for us to achieve the highest use of it without causing any major stress to the property. Now, as a zoning officer, I can't come in and make that determination on my own. The only one that is allowed is the zoning hearing board. So we feel in this case that they should go to it and see what the opinion for the zoning hearing board is. But at this point, we don't feel that it's the best use of that property to oppose it.
Okay, so I think at this point, again, we are in line with your proposals and your recommendations, Aaron. Motion to approve HARB applications, 18 South Church Street, replacing a porch roof, 20 North Matlack Street, replacing the mural, that's the Safe Harbor mural. They both came in with approvals that had some conditions to them, but not anything major. I don't know if there's anything special you want to call out about them.
Not really, no. These are both the replacement of the roof. It's going back almost exactly the same way it was before. We've already looked at that was brought up last time for what is it, Safeway, I believe it is?
Harbor.
Safe Harbor. Thank you. Apologize for mispronouncing that.
Could be confused with the Safe Harbor ear piercing, isn't there one? Yeah, right.
But that's already come up before and we've already discussed it and it's not seen to have any issues. So at this point,
All right, any questions from you guys? Any questions from anyone in attendance? All right, so 3-0 to move forward with those applications, those approvals. Item D, motion to appoint zoning officer.
is this you, Sean, or me?
Motion here is to appoint Aaron Fluck, zoning officer, Westchester Borough. He has the requisite skills to make this happen, time in his day, and it will save us some money in the long run. And I do think that this is a good thing to have in-house because zoning talks about how you can use your property. It has a customer service component and it's just the kind of thing that I want to have in-house. And do you want to say more about that? I just think it's a good component of what we're trying to do, I think.
I think it's an essential part of what we're trying to do. The borough should have control over how the land is being used and what those uses are and how we're doing things. There's a couple of things that having it in-house does. It improves the quality of the work because we have direct control over it. We're not going out to somebody else who's an employee of someone else that we don't even know if they have the certification. We can get those people the certifications that we need. We can keep up the quality that we need on that. It also speeds things up. We do have some lag because we have been very, very busy on our zoning. As you've seen with our zoning hearing board, each one of those has to have a letter from that individual going out. So it's adding to our cost. It's adding to our backlog. It's much easier to get it through quicker and with better quality if we have it in-house. The other thing is that we have an inordinately large amount of individuals in our department and in our administration. To give you an example, there was a question on a sidewalk that I think Bernie's going to be bringing up later. And I couldn't find anything about it. I went to Dana and asked her a question. Oh yeah, that's in 9511 or 9511B. She looked at it once 15 years ago, so she knows that it's there. It's with the last sentence in it. And I'd read it twice and missed that last sentence. But those types of things, everything about it just makes it much better to hold onto zoning because it gives you the control, it gives you the quality, it gives you the speed that you need to get things done.
Do you have to get any additional certification?
I don't need any additional certifications. I do like to keep myself up to date with pretty much as I can. I've already had training in zoning. I am a member of PAZO, which is Pennsylvania Association of Zoning Officers. I have done zoning in at least 4 different municipalities over my career. Officially done the zoning. I have been doing the zoning for the zoning official officer who just signed it off on 3 or 4 other ones. But I do want to get some further education in that regard. And if you noticed in my budget, one of the last things I said is to continue to increase the amount of training for everyone in our department. One of them is to get my ICC International Zoning Code certification, simply because PAZO has a certified zoning officer, but it's not technically accredited. With the ICC, it's more of an accredited certification that would be much more beneficial if we got into issues.
I see IZC. What'd you
The
say?
alphabet soup of code.
Zoning code?
It's the ICC, International
ICC.
Zoning Code. So it's the ICC, IZC.
ICC's IZC.
It's the International Code Council's
Okay,
International Zoning Code.
right. It's a fraternity of zoning code officers. Okay. Any questions from you guys?
Ms. Simone, Mr. Fleck, you forgot the most important thing, I think, about having our zoning guy or person in-house is you understand the fabric of the town, where not that our third party didn't, but they didn't live here and they didn't understand what happens here. You understand the day-to-day operation and the fabric of what's going on. So we've attended some of the meetings, and there's always a challenge to that person's report because they didn't have their foot in the mud here, and you do, which I think is great.
Thank you.
So
The big issue there more so is that you do have individuals that are dealing with 14, 15, 10 different municipalities, and each one has a different zoning code that treats things different ways. So in this case, we would have someone, and my ideal thing to do is to build someone eventually from the code enforcement officers that would take over that zoning down the road in 3 to 5 years or something in that way, so that we have a designated zoning officer that would be dealing with those things. But that's down the road. But bringing it in the house is really the first step in this, to secure it and to get it trained right and have those individuals see how it's being done so that they can build towards that.
And I will say, I mean, in the 13 days, oh, wait, no, 3 months that you've been here now?
No, I'm still short of my 60-day review.
Said 3 months. Somebody said, but anyway, but in the days that you've been here so far, you've already provided strong feedback when it comes to zoning and worked with the teams, and already we can see what you bring to the table. So I think it's a really great thing
Thank you.
to do that change and make that in-house.
Ms. Simone, Mr. Metric, I'd be remiss to ask the question, since we're saving money in Mr. Barbari's fees, are we going to be commensurate to help Mr. Fleck out with the additional duties? Increase in salary? I put you on the spot.
Let me answer that one. Before you do anything like that, I really would like to build the department more,
Okay,
because I need help in the department more than I'm getting very well compensated, and Mr.
Okay.
Metric has been very fair to me.
just wanted to make sure that you feel fairly compensated for the additional duties.
Not saying I wouldn't take it, but I'm just saying I would like to see it built into.
I
the
surprised
department
Mr.
more like
Metric.
that.
I caught him off guard. The Phillies are winning 4-1, Mr. Patrick.
I think you surprised us
Yeah.
all with that question.
Yeah.
actually.
Yes, but coming
All
from,
right.
hey, Aaron, I'm Mr. Jingles. I don't give any money away. So, but I appreciate good work. Yeah, you know, and you can't get good work unless people are happy. So.
All right, cool. And any other questions from anyone in attendance? All right, so 3-0 to recommend that motion? Yep. All right, any other business?
Mr. Moni, I asked Mr. Fluck to talk about the increase of people putting stuff in the right of way in the borough. For example, balloons, tables, and using the right of way in front of businesses that don't have a business license. So I asked Mr. Fluck to look into it, and Dana found it 95 doing 14, 15, whatever it is.
9511B.
Yeah. So
Can you give me, just to make sure I'm clear, are you saying like if I walk down Gay Street and somebody's got like a rack of clothes out in front of their business and some balloons or
Technically-
something? Is that?
well,
Technically-
the brick and mortar people 4 times a year can have a sidewalk sale. Okay, the brick and mortar people that are paying the bid tax, the bid
Fee.
fee. Thanks. Yeah, keep on it. It's getting late. My ice cream level's dropping. And also the like, for example, these pop-up things that just show up in front of Country Bagel. And also just for an example, 360 Pizza.
316.
Huh?
316.
360.
Well, that is delicious pizza and they are very nice family that
Yeah.
owns that pizza
Yeah.
place. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure we're
Oh, I'm by there. That's very good.
very good.
The-
And the
the,
best stromboli I think I've ever had. Just-
That I haven't
that
had.
was very good.
But anyway, we have ordinances and zoning that says that you can only use certain things there. And I've got some complete, not just there, around town where people just doing whatever they want to do. So I asked them to look into it and freshen up on the ordinance. That's all.
We did look into it and we did look at specifically 316 Pizza. When we originally went there, we were under the impression the first part that we saw, the most obvious thing was obscuring. We do have an ordinance that says obscuring or obscuring a sidewalk, basically, or restricting the access of a sidewalk. I don't remember the exact phrasing on it, but what basically says that you have to keep the 3-foot section in the middle of the sidewalk open. So you have to have a minimum, that has to be the absolute minimum of anything. But as we were discussing it, and like I said, I went to someone who worked for a long time in our department and asked and had to deal with this for a long time and has seen so many councils, in her 21 years, she has worked 25 years.
You only look 21.
She's 27. She's been working since she's 2. But she did look into, and like I said, it was amazing. She just spat it out. She says it's 95. I think it's 9511 something. So we went in and looked. It was 9511B, which at the very last line states that you cannot use the sidewalk for anything other than a sidewalk. Period. So you can't use it for seating. You can't use it for balloons. You can't use it for a small herb garden, even though they really great herbs. I mean, the basil there is first class. But
Everybody, right?
there are a lot of them, yes. But it also goes into, you can't have people coming in and just setting up you have to have council approval for doing things like that, for doing restrictions into the sidewalk. There's also restrictions on if you want to have seating, you can't, when you have parking along the side street, you can't have parking on the curb, or seating on the curb. You have to have that seating against the building. Because you have to keep that open for people parking. So there's a number of different things that go into it. We also did notice going around that there's a couple other local places that had put out a few seats. They still kept the 3 feet open and so forth, but they didn't have cafe permits. So we started looking into some of those and discussing with them. And instead of what we have been trying to do since this came to our attention was more go to the education. And this was the last thing I put in my budget is as one of my goals for this year is to transfer from being punishment based to explaining the why behind the ordinance so that people become more compliant. Our job is not to punish, our job is to promote compliance to the ordinances. And if we can do that by educating them a little bit better as to why, most people will make the determination that best fits and helps the society provide, as long as they're not being overly impacted. So that's kind of the way I would prefer to move forward in this department. Yes, we still have to enforce the things that we have to enforce, but that doesn't have to be the first line of offense. The first line for getting compliance is more just, setting down, particularly with an ordinance like this, where, you do have to kind of look at the ordinance and read a couple of different things to understand how it's being implied, how it's being applied, and how it's impacting people. And to be quite honest with you, the conversations we had were very good, and we'll follow up with them and make sure that these people are following up and doing what they said they would do. But yes, we did look into it. We did educate both myself and the code enforcement officers in regards to what the requirements are for putting something into the sidewalk, and that there are steps that people have to take. And we're going to be working on educating them towards that and holding them to it.
It was an educational piece that was kind of lacking. And then when you get some complaints from the neighbors of different places, like for example, Country Bagel, somebody's been putting up a table outside Country Bagel begging for money for children relief fund. Like not just a pop-up that you guys wouldn't even notice, but we get emails and phone calls and stuff like that, that I just fill out the concern thing and send it in there. And whenever you get to it, you get to it. It's easier to fill out the form than it is to send you an email and a picture, because that way there it's tracked and
Yeah.
it's handled. So report a concern.
Yeah, we've been reached out to a number of individuals, both through the administration and to some council members, that we're going to be focusing on having as many of the complaints come through on the citizen portal. And where individuals can't do it, then we will take them and put them into the portal for them. But we would like to get most people trying to use that, because it does a number of different things. It improves the ability for us to track what's going on and give feedback, so that you have that follow-up immediately. Our website.
Front page of the website.
We're not doing that. I don't really like to stand up here this long. I will say that on the front page of our website, we do have a citizen portal. I think it's register a concern or something of that sort. And what that does, the benefits of that is if you do fill it out, you can fill it out anonymously if you want. If you do want to put your information in, you can do that also. If you put your information in, then you will get updates on things. So if you have a situation where there is a blockage on a sidewalk, or somebody, somebody's getting deliveries at 10 o'clock in the morning on a PennDOT street and it's causing traffic issues, then we can follow up with the right people and make sure that that's taken care of. But it also helps us to train our code enforcement officers to go there and be proactive instead of reactive, so that they're not getting somebody calling us, hey, this is a problem, and they have to run out and do it. They can actually come in and look every day, multiple times a day, and go out and take care of those things in a more progressive way. So in all of what we are trying to do with these complaints is to make sure that we have a means of tracking them And if there is a mistake made on them, we can actually go back and say, okay, you did step 1, you did step 2, you did step 3. Oh, you went to step 5. We missed 4. So we have to look at what 4 was and then address that so that we don't do that again. All the way around, it'll make us more consistent, more efficient, and more effective in maintaining those codes. Yes. You're welcome. When they call me for it, or they call me, just general.
All right, and any other business?
Yes, I have one other thing. Sorry. Kind of waiting for that. Just been wasting my time. I received a letter from PAC, and the mayor are working together for what is it called? Quincentennial celebration.
250 years?
Semi-quincentennial celebration. I've been working on that all day and I screwed it up. I apologize. Basically, our 250th birthday as a nation. And what the mayor and PAC are looking for to do is to do a mural, 259 West or Eastgate? Eastgate? 259 Eastgate. There's some other things to it. They don't have a design right yet. They want to put out a call for art, basically to get some designs in and come up with this and start to fundraise for it. And it just came in front of me today, and I kind of got all excited about it, and I just was going to run over here and tell you about it because it's something that I am in very much support of. But it's more something that the PAC and mayor would like. I think they should comment on it more than me.
I know. I had nothing else to do. So I'm Jim O'Brien, the chair of the Public Arts Commission. We have been working with the mayor for a little while now, developing this project, and things are moving along well. Right now, we are heading in the direction of utilizing the east-facing wall of the American Legion building on East Gay Street as our canvas, if you will, with some possibility of some expansion on that, but we're waiting to hear as things are continuing to develop. But basically, we want to proceed with releasing the call for art because we're trying to keep a timeline of having a dedication on July 4th of next year, which, you know, requires us to kind of get things going because we want to have time for the call for art to circulate so that artists can, one, find out about it, but then also have time to develop design work and ideas to submit. And then, of course, there's a jurying process and revisions and so forth. So there's a fair amount of work to do before we're actually putting paint on a wall. You know, in this project, I suppose it's a little unique in that the borough would technically be the applicant for the mural. So we figured it's a good idea to introduce it now so that we can figure out that we're all on the same page for the release of the call for art.
Is there like money involved? Do we have to approve money or something along the way? Okay.
At this point, at this point, don't know if there will be anything in the future, but more so, this is more just to let you know that this is going to be coming up and there's going to be more talk about this and just put it on your radar and introduce you to the idea of it because there's some other things that they were thinking of doing with the mayor and Jimmer have been talking about that might help in regards to that in the future, but I don't want to step on their toes in that regard because it's their baby. I'm just trying to push it through as quickly as we can get it legally and correct.
Okay. So for now, we are aware that there's going to be probably in the next year, a beautiful mural on the side of the American Legion building.
That's
And that at some point you're going to come and ask us for some money for it. But for now, you're just asking us to know that it's happening.
And I suppose maybe more specifically, for a green light to release the call for art.
Yeah.
Great.
Remember, that wall's kind of small.
It is kind of small.
Here it is. I took the graffiti off the front of
We
it.
could take the balloons from Pizza 360,
Here you go.
move them
Yeah.
across.
It's kind of small. It's only like maybe 8 foot by, what, 20?
Yeah, it is. It's kind of small, and we're proceeding with it because American Legion expressed interest. They kind of stepped up. There's also, it being the American Legion building, there's a related theme with the nation's 250. We do also have an idea in the works. We've sent a message to the property owner of the building across the street. I don't know if you're looking at Google Street View in front of you there.
Lottie's place? Or Olive's?
It's
Which street?
just a townhouse right on the corner there. It's 254 East Gay Street. They have an corresponding east-facing elevation that it would be fantastic if we could utilize both walls and have the design actually extend across the street, serving as kind of a gateway as you enter into the borough.
All right, any questions from you? Any questions from anyone out there? Mayor, did you want to say anything? Mayor's good, all right. Oh, Mayor's without words. You must have, wait a minute. She's tired. She wants to go home. All right, so 3-0 to release the call of art.
Hey, Barb, Barb, in the boards and commissions money, do we have any money left in the boards and commissions
Tons of money. in
in,
it.
in the event that they need to get money as seed money?
Yes,
There's plenty of money there.
yes,
I
you
don't
have
think
money
anyone
there.
has used any of that money
Okay.
this year.
Yes, you have money and yes, we will want it.
Jimmer, there you go. Boards and commissions, and there's funds sitting there to be used. Yeah.
And if you need some free labor, Bernie has painted things before.
Yeah. The graffiti off that building. I'm looking at the pictures now. Yeah. That's how I know how big the building is.
All right, okay, I'm going to keep, any other business?
I'm buying,
Seeing-
going to Rita's.
Seeing no other business, we can adjourn this meeting at 8:44. Thank you, guys.